Hey, check this out. We have hoof prints and marks from all the indigenous animals right here in Southern Africa because they're drinking out of this lake. What I want to do is I want to show you how we're going to make this lake better for all the animals on this amazing property. What's up, everybody? The Pond Professor here, coming to you today from Aqualand, our corporate headquarters, and we are talking about design philosophies and concepts of designing and building a beautiful naturalistic waterfall on the edge of a natural lake. Now, this is a little bit different than a lot of other projects we do. I'm not worried about thinking of setting up an ecosystem. This is a natural body of water that has a wide variety of different types of animals that are enjoying this water because this is in Southern Africa. So we have giraffes and zebras and wildebeests and baboons and you name it coming to this incredible body of water. So what we want to try to do is create this beautiful naturalistic waterfall that's going to blend seamlessly in with our other decorative water feature. But I want to separate that out because it's a little too confusing. Just want to focus on the natural lake and what the design philosophies are and how we're actually going to pull this off, because it's going to be an engineering feat, because we have to race against time because it is getting into the rainy period. And if you've ever been into a dry area, Southern Africa, as soon as that rainy period starts popping up, you can get a torrential rain, and in minutes you can get just a massive volumes of water flowing into these lake systems because everything is designed to feed this lake. So this is designed as a water hole for feeding or for nourishing all the different animals that are living there. So the addition of the waterfall is going to be aesthetic, but it's also going to be very, very important because, as many of you know, I love talking about biomimicry, and natural waterfalls, natural river systems are bringing in dissolved oxygen into these natural bodies of water. And just like us, everything needs to breathe. All the little microorganisms, all the different insects, all the different fish, all the different things that are living inside of this body of water, they all consume oxygen in one way, shape, or form. So we want to try to add a waterfall onto the perimeter instead of an aerator to bring in that naturalistic water dissolved oxygen. So what I want to talk about now is what this actually is going to look like. So I'm going to start out with a very simplistic version. So this is something that I do on a routine basis. It's basically what we call an intake bay. So what we have here is we have a pumping system, which is this guy right over here. We're using our standard pump vault in this particular application. When the pump is operational, it's going to take the water and it's going to shoot it up out of the pump and into a piping system. So what happens is the water from that's on top is going to want to refill that void. So as the pump is moving water out, the rest of the water wants to refill it, and then it's going to draw water in from the main lake system. So the water gets pre-filtered. It's going to go through the rock, the gravel, through all the little intricacies of the AquaBlox themselves. It's going to help to mix the water very, very effectively, which is going to help increase dissolved oxygen. But what also happens when you look at the AquaBlox, it's kind of like a webbing type of a setup. So what this does, as water is flowing through it, it creates little micro eddies inside of there. This is really, really important because what this is doing, it's a disturbed water flow. So we're trying to mix and make the water kind of bounce off of itself. And in that process, it's going to allow sediments and things like that to build up down on the bottom. So this is an important piece because it's going to help to, with overall water quality, it's going to act as a large sediment trap, and it's going to help to pre-filter the water out, which is going to be better and better for the water further upstream in this application. So this is a very simplified version, and I'm going to show you this because I'm going to scale it up then. This is a natural body of water. This is located right here just outside where I live in Big Rock, Illinois. Natural body of water. You can see detritus. You can see all types of stuff floating on the surface there. These are issues that you're going to find in a lot of different applications. So the intake bay in this application is going to sweep that debris off of the surface. How we're actually going to build that, we're going to dig a hole on the side of the pond. We're going to install kind of a concrete weir structure over here, which is going to set the water level. When this is filled back up with water, the normal water level is going to be way up here. I'm going to put AquaBlox inside of this. They're going to act as the pre-filter for this entire system. The pump is then going to sit in the bottom. So when this is operational, as I mentioned, the pump is going to discharge the water away from this vessel. The water from the pond is going to want to refill it. And that's all I really want to describe in this application right now. Once we have that in place, we could do all types of things. Once we have the water pressurized, we could send the water to filtration systems. We can create beautiful cascading waterfalls that are going to bring that life-giving oxygen into the body of water. You can see within a year's operation, the water quality on this lake has gone in our favor because we're capturing debris, we're bringing dissolved oxygen, and it sets up that ecosystem. So all the little things are going to start to feed off of the dissolved nutrients in the system. Now this project in Africa, a little bit different, actually dramatically different, because it's not going to be green and lush like this around the perimeter. It's hot. It's dry. You're going to have giraffes walking up and drinking out of this. You're going to have all types of these crazy exotic animals that you normally would just see in a zoo here in North America, but they're actually going to be utilizing this water. So I want to create something that really mimics the natural ecosystem. I don't want to bring a Midwestern look to a project in Africa. I want to make it look like an African system. So we came up with this idea. In this application, normally I would put in the rubber liner and a couple pump vaults like I normally would, but this is supersized. Because of the scale of this feature, because of the impending doom of the rainy period coming in upon us, we had to come up with a concrete structure for everything. I'm still gonna load it up with my AquaBlox though as that pre-filter. I also have a massive pump vault going in place because we have a pump that's gonna be 600-700 pounds. So a massive high horsepower pump that's gonna create this waterfall effect, and that's because it's going to fit with the scale of the feature. So this is kind of the layout. This is a 3D view. So if you look at this little line right here, this is high water level. I'm going to set that structure below the high water level. The continuous water level is going to be way down over here. So I'm just going to be drawing in enough water into this intake bay to feed that pump system. I am then going to take that water and I'm going to pump it up to our waterfall here, and there's going to be a series of cascades that we're going to carve into that hillside. This is going to create that desired water feature type of an effect. The other thing that I believe is very, very important on this particular project is there is a large peninsula that kind of comes out in this section over here, and there's a fire pit that will be located here in the future. So what I want to try to do is create up a visual that as you're looking up this water feature, and the home is way over here in the distance, you're gonna see this beautiful cascading waterfall that's feeding into this natural lake. Everything that we do is based on illusions. I talk about creating a naturalistic feature. Naturalistic, because it's truly not a natural feature. We're pumping the water. We're artificially creating a waterfall by having a pumping system involved. But when it's done properly, it's going to trick the viewers into thinking that this is actually an actual waterfall going into this natural lake system. And that's going to take a lot of careful coordination of bringing in all the right boulders, disguising this large concrete structure. I mean, this is, I don't even know how many cubic meters of concrete are going in there. Many, many tons of concrete and steel are being used to create this structure. All the engineers, the architects, everybody on site, when they're looking at this design, they're like, Ed, this thing is 12.5 feet tall. How are you gonna hide a 12.5 foot tall chunk of concrete? I'm gonna create a series of ledges and terraces, and I'm gonna slowly work my way up, and that structure is literally gonna disappear right before your eyes. So again, I'm gonna look at things differently, and it's because I've been doing this for 32 years. So it's taken me decades to get to this point where I could look at something very, very quickly and come up with the plan to execute it. So here's actually our layout that we worked on with the engineering team. Again, everything's gonna be in metric here. Just for simplicity's sake, we are 25 feet wide, going like this, and we're 30 feet long going in this direction. We also have a concrete ledge that is built right in here. So our waterfall is going to cascade its way right down through here. That viewing area that I mentioned is looking at this from this direction. The other thing that I want to mention here that I think is really, really important, I'm trying to mimic the surrounding mountainsides. This drawing that you're looking at, it's not actually set parallel to everything, and it's because I wanted to set the perspective of actually how it's going to be installed. The lake is down over in this section. I set it up at kind of a 45-degree angle this is going to be repeated throughout the entire project. Again, I'm just talking about this one lower section right now. Geology is very, very fascinating. You can break all different types of rules with it, but there typically is a set pattern with things. So these parallel lines of these hard, ridgy, rocky terrains that are going through everything, I want to repeat that all the way through this entire project. So it starts with this one. This one sets the stage for everything else that's going to be built. This feature is going to be almost 600 feet in length. We're talking about a section that's only maybe not even 100 feet at this point. So it's the very, very beginning of all this. And it starts with the construction layout. So what I did was I laid it actually out on the ground, being at this angle, so I knew those rock layers were going to work in our favor. Over in this one corner, you can see this is going to be our pump vault over here. We have a deeper section immediately in front of that. That's because we need to feed a certain volume of water going to the pump. Pumps, when I'm talking about these big actually they're huge, high horsepower pumps, they have a minimum submergence level. So I want to make sure that these pumps are always going to be underwater, which is why this pump vault, if we look at our next drawing, is actually over 12 feet deep. So from grade over here all the way to the bottom, that's 12 feet. It's a massive column of concrete going all the way down to the bottom. And then our pump system is going to sit down inside of this. Down here, this is all going to be filled with those AquaBlox. That's going to act as that pre-filter. This is really, really important. We want to remove as much of that junk as possible. The point of maintenance is going to be at this location, right on top of those AquaBlox. The water flows down through a valve system. We also installed a 18-inch valve. And that valve is installed right over here. So it's a big gate valve. So what the purpose of this is, somebody could actually open a manhole up here on the top and they could actuate this valve. This becomes very, very, very important from a maintenance standpoint, because when this is connected to that main lake, which is, I mean, it's giant. It's millions of gallons of water in the top foot. If you ever have to get to the pump, and if the normal lake level is high enough, you're gonna be putting on a scuba suit. You're going to be going down to work on this pump. It's going to be very, very difficult and challenging. So this valve is critical, because now you could shut off the water from this entire lake system just by closing this valve over here, and that will keep this one side flooded, and then this water you could drain it all the way down, allowing access to do maintenance on the pump. Again, it's just subtle things like this that make all the difference in the world. So again, we have to be thinking about all these different nuances in order to create a successful long-term water feature. Now here's the actual layout that I was describing. This is the pump vault that I'm talking about. It's going right here in this one corner. You can see the water levels down low because this is the dry period. As soon as that rainy period pops up, this could flood all the way up to this little level over here. So we're talking right now, it's 8 to 10 feet below normal water level. So this is very, very lucky for us. It's going to allow us to come in, do the excavation, put in our concrete, put everything in place, then I could start assembling all the pieces on the inside. This is that waterfall system I mentioned. This is going to create those cascades that are going to be working their way all the way down into our reservoir down below. That fire pit, this is not completed yet, but that fire pit's going somewhere over in here. So if any visitors, the owner, friends, relatives, you name it, are on site over here by the fire pit, when they're looking at this beautiful waterfall, all the way into the background, you're going to see the beautiful home. So it's going to kind of create that naturalistic effect. Here we are working construction along at this point. You can see we have a large crane on site. Our main pond is way over here, and I'm not talking about that right now. That's a separate discussion, but you can see they're actually working on the pump vault itself. It's a little bit shaded right here right now, but they're pouring concrete in here, and that pump vault is right in that corner. So you can see by the size and mass of this feature how large it is and what we need to do to actually make it disappear. And again, that's all part of the artistry of what we actually do. Those angles down here below, you can see we're starting to set some big boulders, and that's what that crane is for. That's setting up those big vertical ridges of stone that are going to be bisecting their way all the way through the project. And if you actually look, you could actually see my boulders up here in the pond following those same trajectories. So we have these parallel ridges of rocks. It mimics the natural geologic formations of the area. So when you look at it, again, it's an illusion. It's going to trick you into thinking that this water feature was here for thousands and thousands of years, because as we all know, water is the source of life on planet Earth. Going back thousands of years ago, hunters and gatherers right here on this actual property, they would look for water. If you were trying to set up camp, you would be setting it up on a water hole, on a pond, on a lake, on some sort of a river system whenever possible, because that's going to be an important part of your survival. The other thing that we're doing on this project is we have a bunch of drainage systems coming in from all the homes and construction and stuff way up here. We have a large 12-inch pipe that is coming in right into the back of that concrete vault. That's going to keep this system filled up anytime we get those heavy rains, plus the water level on the lake is also going to rise up. Here we are actually installing some of the boulders. The concrete work is all done. Actually, they're still working on a little bit of the concrete pour over here, but you can see our incredible team over here in Southern Africa. You could also see the scale of this lake system. I mean, this is, I don't even know how many, 1,000+ feet going in any direction. And way over here in the background, you're going to see animals. This is actually an island right here. Bridge goes to an island over here. So it's just unbelievable. And creating this little piece of a feature, I think is really, really important from that functional standpoint, as well as selling that overall design philosophy and concept. But what I love about this is these features, there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of natural lakes, retention ponds, systems like this around the world, corporate offices, farm ponds, subdivisions, you name it. So once you understand the design philosophies and concepts, you could actually take this idea directly from what we're doing here in Southern Africa, and you can implement it anywhere in the world on any type of a feature. So that's what I love about this, connecting people with water the way nature intended it, and it all starts right here. So this incredible waterfall was not just designed for aesthetic purposes. This waterfall is actually increasing the overall water quality in this massive lake system. By having this pumping system recirculating the water, you can tell by the agitation. We have 1,000 gallons a minute, 60,000 gallons of water every hour cascading over these big natural boulders that we harvested directly from the surrounding mountainside. That water is going to flow into this lake. It's going to infuse it with dissolved oxygen. And here in Southern Africa, these lakes are notoriously low in oxygen. And that's because of the intense heat that they have here. These small lakes are going to fill up with rainwater. They slowly evaporate away. They get smaller and smaller and smaller. All the muck and the detritus builds up on the bottom, and all those little microorganisms that are feeding on that stuff are sucking the oxygen out of the water. And I've come over here during the day before this waterfall was running, and I see fish right at the surface gasping for air. So what we want to do is we want to fix it. The only way to fix it is follow Mother Nature. Biomimicry at its finest, increased dissolved oxygen by building a waterfall.